In honor of Women's History Month, we're proud to share this video interview with Jane Oates, President of Working Nation. Previously, she served as Assistant Secretary for Employment and Training at the U.S. Department of Labor. Jane became a national leader in education and workforce programs during her 10 years with Senator Edward M. Kennedy on the U.S. Senate's Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. She also served as the Commissioner of the New Jersey Council of Higher Education. Jane began her career as a teacher in Boston and Philadelphia. She served as the Director of Field Services at the Temple University Center for Research and Human Development and spent 4 years with the Apollo Education Group. She received her BA in Education from Boston College and her Master's in Education and Reading from Arcadia University. Jane, please tell me about your current role as President of Working Nation, as well as the projects that you're working on.
Working Nation is a nonprofit media entity that's totally devoted to telling the stories at the intersection of education and work at all levels, whether you go to work right from high school or whether you go on through higher education and earn a PhD. Right now, we're working on 2 very interesting projects. One, we've started on the green economy, looking at specific states and doing a deep dive into what are the jobs that are green in that state that are in demand right now, or what are the skills in what we're calling green adjacent jobs. So think, how has architecture changed with LEED certified buildings? The second is one we're just beginning, and that's looking at diversability. How do we get more people who have a diagnosed disability into the workforce?
What has been your greatest achievement in your career thus far? What helped you to succeed?
So I've had so many wonderful experiences, a teacher, a researcher, certainly my time in New Jersey that introduced me to the Heldrick Center when I worked with Governor Corzine in higher education. But it would be hard to not admit that being the Assistant Secretary of Labor in the Obama administration was absolutely the most amazing experience of my lifetime, both in terms of the scope of the work and the timing. I was able to be in that position during the Great Recession and looking at the resiliency of local areas and going from 17% unemployment, rebuilding their local economies. It was just an amazing thing to be a part of. And what helped me? I'm a special ed teacher by training. So certainly it was not a linear pathway to that job or many of the other jobs that I've had. But it was the attention and mentorship of people all along that pathway. And most significantly, I would have to say that Senator Edward Kennedy was instrumental in making me believe that I could do that job. I had worked for him for over a decade, and when the opportunity came up in the Obama administration, and I was sitting in my office in Trenton when I got the call, and I had not applied, and I was blown away. The first person I called was Senator Kennedy and said, "What do I do?" And he said, "You do the job." It was the most amazing, he believed that I could do it, and therefore I believed I could do it.
What advice would you give to the next generation of women leaders?
Leading is so important always, but it's so defined by the time in which you're leading and the geography in which you're leading. But I would say, don't be afraid to lead with passion and compassion. And, I think many times women think they have to become more like the men who were the leaders in their coming up in their career, kind of removed and detached. And I think what makes women such amazing leaders is their attachment, the fact that they're all in on a project and they're all in on the people. So I think, showing people that you're passionate is not a sign of weakness. It's instead, in my mind, instead a great sign of strength. And compassion is, don't forget where you came from. Put yourself in those people, the people that you're serving, put yourself in their shoes. And it could be in the sense of a nonprofit, understanding the people that you're so graciously allowed to serve. But in a business environment, it's remember what it was like to be the new person on the team. Remember what it was like to be an intern, and treat each of them with the respect that you would have wanted at that point in your career.
Which women, either living or deceased, inspire you the most?
Such a, really such a hard question, because so many women were a part of my path here, both in the classroom and out. But if I were to try to get it down, I would say the living woman I am so inspired by is Hilda Solis, who was the Secretary of Labor when I was serving in the administration. And she inspires me because she led with grace and dignity at the Department of Labor, and went back after that position and became a county supervisor, and has continued to care about the voice of the worker, but also has just done such amazing work during the COVID outbreak. She was putting herself and her family at risk every day, even though she was vaccinated and masked, because she would go and try to set up centers for other people to get the vaccinations that they needed and the information that they needed. So she's my living inspiration. The woman who's most inspirational to me, who has passed, is Toni Morrison. Her work, whether in the classroom or in writing or in editing, has just opened the doors for women to express themselves without apologizing. I mean, she did it with such beauty. I think of Beloved, where she, in all her work, where she literally went out there and talked about the harsh realities, but did it in a poetic and beautiful way. She stays with me, and I think with many of us, through her works of art. But I think we have to look at her grit and determination, because you didn't become, an editor at Random House when she did as a Black woman, unless you had real grit and determination. So from her, I take the love of beauty, the love of literature, but also that idea that nothing comes easily, and you have to have absolutely ability, number one, but you have to have grit and determination and persistence, or you're just not going to make it to where you could be.
Finally, Jane, what can people do to celebrate Women's History Month?
First of all, celebrate. I mean, do that in whatever way is most appealing to you. For me, I do a lot more reading, fiction and nonfiction of women authors. I think that's a great way for us to support them. But I think in your local community, making sure that on your list of businesses that you support, make sure that you're looking for women-owned businesses. Make sure you're looking to support the women entrepreneurs in your local area. 11 months of the year, we don't give them as much thought as we should, and that's probably what we should change this month. Make it a year-long activity, but really take advantage of those women that are beginning a business, continuing a business, growing a business in your community, and figure out how to make sure they stay there. And finally, I would say mentor other women. Get actively engaged. If you're in a business situation, sponsor women. Don't be afraid to say, I want to bring this younger associate with me into this meeting. Men have done this very successfully forever. And women should model that mentoring idea and level it up to a level of sponsorship where you really push a woman once she gets into your area of business to progress, and to progress more quickly. So mentor, mentor, mentor.
Thanks for watching this interview with Jane Oates. Be sure to watch our other video interviews celebrating Women's History Month.